You've got to picture this. A man is in chains, a prisoner of the most powerful empire on the planet. And from that jail cell, he doesn't write about his legal case, he doesn't write about his suffering. No, he writes the blueprint for how to unify the entire universe. That is the incredible paradox at the very heart of the letter to the Ephesians.
So how is that even possible? That's the question we're going to dive into because honestly, it unlocks everything. This isn't just some old religious letter. It's a bold declaration that the solution to all the division in the cosmos can come from the most unlikely place imaginable.
So here's our game plan. We're going to follow this amazing blueprint. First, we'll look at the prisoner and his cosmic plan. Then we'll dive into the world he was writing to, a world full of dividing walls. After that, we'll uncover the great mystery, the open secret he reveals. Then we'll see how this creates a totally new way to be human. And finally, we'll pinpoint the real spiritual battle that he says we're all in.
All right, first things first, we have to set the scene. Where in the world is this radical vision even coming from?
So the guy writing this is the Apostle Paul. He'd already spent 3 whole years in the major city of Ephesus, so he knew these people. He knew their culture inside and out. But now, he's writing this years later, while he's under house arrest in Rome. And here's what's so wild. Unlike his other letters, he's not writing to solve some local church drama or correct some bad teaching. No, he's writing to give them this breathtaking 30,000-foot view of what God is up to in the entire cosmos and the incredible part they get to play in it. It was probably a circular letter, meant to be passed around to all the churches in the area, reminding them not of their problems, but of who they truly are.
Now, to really get why Paul's vision was so mind-blowing, you have to understand the world he was speaking into, and it was a world that was just shattered by division and hostility. You see, Ephesus was the hub for worshiping all kinds of gods, but the main attraction, the crown jewel, was the temple of Artemis. This thing was a wonder of the ancient world. I mean, it was 4 times the size of the Parthenon in Athens. It was the center of their economy, their identity, their entire world. They believed this building was literally the body of their goddess, Artemis, right there on Earth.
Okay, but here's the kicker. Paul walks into this culture and drops an absolute bombshell. He claims that the true temple, the actual place where the God of the universe lives on earth, isn't some building made of stone and gold. It's a community of people. It's former enemies learning how to be a family. Think about that. The real meeting place of heaven and earth isn't a building you go to, it's a people you belong to.
And when I say enemies, I'm not exaggerating. In the Roman Empire, these divisions weren't just social opinions. People saw them as cosmic facts, woven into the fabric of reality by the gods. To a Jew, a Gentile was unclean. To a Greek, everyone else was an inferior barbarian. Roman law didn't even classify slaves as human beings. They were legally considered talking tools, property. To question these divisions wasn't just to be countercultural, it was to challenge the way the universe worked.
You want to know how real these walls were? They were literally carved in stone and backed up by the death penalty. At the Jerusalem temple, there was a physical barrier separating the area where Gentiles could go from the inner courts where only Jews were allowed. And there were signs, carved in Greek and Latin, that said if you're a foreigner and you cross this line, you will be executed on the spot. It was the ultimate, deadly dividing wall.
It's into that world, a world of lethal division, that Paul unveils the absolute centerpiece of his letter, a truth he calls a mystery.
Now hold on, because when we hear the word mystery, we think of a whodunit, a puzzle we need to solve. But for Paul, the Greek word mysterion means something totally different. It's more like an open secret. It's a vital piece of God's plan that was hidden for ages, but has now finally been revealed to everybody.
So what is this big open secret? It's this. God's plan from the very beginning was never for humanity to be broken up into all these warring tribes. His plan was always to create one new, unified humanity out of all of them. Jew and Gentile, Greek and barbarian, slave and free, all brought together into one new family. Paul says that because of Jesus the Messiah, that literal deadly dividing wall from the temple is now a symbol for something that's happened on a cosmic scale. The very laws that created that separation have been fulfilled in Jesus, so the barrier itself has been torn down. And listen, this isn't some nice, fluffy, spiritual idea. For Paul, this is a new political and social reality. The deepest division in the human race has been healed.
And what's the name for this new humanity? Paul calls it the ekklesia, which we translate as church. But wait a minute. In Paul's world, ekklesia wasn't a religious word. It was a political word. It meant the official gathering of citizens to run a city.
So by calling this messy group of former enemies an ekklesia, Paul is making an explosive claim. He's saying this is the real new society, an alternative kingdom whose true citizenship isn't in Rome, but in heaven. And the climax of this whole vision gets packed into one giant Greek word Paul uses, ekklesia. It's a mouthful, but it basically means to sum everything up, to bring it all together under one head. So here's the point. God's ultimate goal for all of history is to unite everything, in heaven and on earth, the spiritual and the physical, to heal the whole fractured cosmos and bring it all together under the loving rule of Jesus the Messiah.
Okay, this is where the whole letter makes a hard turn. The first half is this massive, mind-bending theology. It's the what. But then Paul drops the most important word in the book, therefore. And the entire second half is about the so what. It's about how this cosmic reality has to completely change how we live day to day.
He gives us this amazing picture. He says you need to take off your old way of being human, the life that was all about division and looking out for number one, like it's a set of dirty old clothes, and then you have to put on your new humanity, which is being made new to be like the one who created it.
And he gets super practical about it. What does this look like? Well, the old humanity lies. The new humanity speaks truth. The old humanity holds on to anger. The new humanity resolves conflict. The old humanity steals. The new humanity works hard so it can be generous. You see the pattern? This isn't just a random list of rules. Paul is saying this is the natural, instinctive behavior of this new, unified family.
And this new way of life completely turns the Roman power structure upside down right in the home. See, in the Roman world, the paterfamilias, the male head of the household, had absolute life and death power over his wife, kids, and slaves. Paul comes in and just deconstructs the whole thing. He tells everyone to submit to one another. And then he tells husbands to love their wives not by being their boss, but by loving them like Jesus loved the church, by giving himself up for her. This was absolutely revolutionary.
So, as Paul wraps things up, he gives one last crucial reminder. If you're going to live this new kind of life, you need to know you're in a battle. But the big question is, who or what is the real enemy?
I mean, think about it. If the dividing walls are torn down, if Jew and Gentile are family now, what's left to fight?
And Paul's answer is crystal clear. He says your enemy is not flesh and blood. It's not the Roman government. It's not another ethnic group. The real enemy is the unseen, dark spiritual powers that thrive on hatred, that fuel injustice, and that are hell-bent on keeping humanity divided and at each other's throats.
And to stand firm in this fight, he says you have to put on the armor of God. And the irony here is just stunning. Paul, a prisoner, is likely changed to a Roman guard as he writes this, and he uses that very soldier's uniform as a metaphor. He says to wear the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, to have your feet ready with the gospel of peace, to hold up the shield of faith, wear the helmet of salvation, and take up the one offensive weapon, the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God.
But here's the part we almost always miss, and it is so important. This armor isn't for some solo spiritual Rambo going on a mission alone. Every command here is in the plural. This is y'all's armor. It's the shared gear for the entire community, the ekklesia, to stand together and defend the unity that Jesus already won for them.
And this really says it all, doesn't it? The church isn't the building. It's not a place you go. It's what happens when the walls come down. It's what happens when enemies look at each other and realize they're family.
So, if you walk away with one thing, let it be this. The church is not God's plan B because plan A failed. The church is plan A. It's God's chosen way to create a new humanity that acts like a living, breathing sneak peek, a trailer for the whole universe of what it's going to look like when heaven and earth are finally one.
And that has to leave us with a pretty tough question. If this prisoner's blueprint really is God's plan for the cosmos, then we've got to ask ourselves, in our own lives, in our own communities, in our own world, where are we still building the very same walls that Jesus died to tear down?